everybody, this is Paige from Mosaic Moments, and this is the perfect video if you are new to this scrapbook system. I know I've heard from many of you that it's a little bit overwhelming to get started and you're not sure what items you need to get or how to get started. So today I'm going to be going over some tips on how you can get started with Mosaic Moments. All right, so let's get started. For those of you who are new to Mosaic Moments, I first recommend to try out a few page kits. So I recommend getting a page kit because it gives you an idea on how the grid paper works, it gives you practice on using the grid paper, and it gives you an idea on how Mosaic Moments pages work in general. So each kit, you may have saw already that there's a label on each kit that shows you how to place all the pieces on the 2 pages. And every page kit does have 2 sheets of 12 by 12 grid paper. All the pieces come pre-cut, so there's no cutting required except for your photos. And what you do, I recommend when you're new to start with the tile that is in the top left corner. And you'll do this on both sides of your layout. Just at the beginning, because sometimes it's hard with the grid paper to figure out where things need to be placed. So just for practice, when you first get it, just start with that top left corner and it'll be kind of easier from there where to place everything. So what you do is you take your glue. I have Re-positionable glue. If you have permanent glue, that's fine, but I do recommend Re-positionable glue. This is what we use for all of our layouts for anything Mosaic Moments related. And what you're going to do is take the paper block and line it up right in that left corner of the place you want to put it. And you want to make sure that top and left line are completely covered. So in the end, all of the grid lines should be completely covered. So you want to take your time and make sure it's lined up right on those lines. So in the middle, I can see there's a larger dark pink tile. It's the largest one from the kit. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And we use Re-positionable glue because sometimes you don't get the tiles on the grid paper just right. And if it's permanent, it could tear your paper if you try to pick it up. So the Re-positionable glue is handy. So in case you need to adjust anything or if you want to move something around. So I have that second tile down. And it does come with a layering piece. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using that. If it does come with an extra layer, some of our kits come with a scallop mat or frame. You are welcome to use them or save them for another project. All right, I have another pink piece that goes on the other side. So I'm going to grab that patterned pink paper that's the same shape as the first one. And again, I'm going to take my piece and glue the back, which all you really need is glue on each corner, like I'm placing here, and some right in the middle, so you don't need a ton of glue. And then again, line up that left corner. On the left corner of the section, you want to put it on the grid paper and make sure the left and top lines are completely covered. And now that this section is finished, you can just follow along and place the pieces that are right beneath them. So here is the strips. And by the way, if you do want to learn more about our page kits, we do have a demo on using the kits if you want further instruction. So you can click the link in the top right corner now to see that tutorial. And that one's a longer video that goes over the page kits. And I'm, again, just following along what the label looks like. Some people do mix up the kits and put them in different directions, but if this is only your first one or second one even, I recommend just following along how you see it on the label at the beginning. And if you have photos that are really close up, it's really important to look at kits that have fewer design spots and that have bigger design spots. So that's something to consider when you're looking through our page kits, which all of our page kits can be purchased on our website, snapandcrop.com. There is a link in the description below so you can go shop there and click on our page kit section and go check them all out. We have a lot of them with all different kinds of themes, and most of them feature a page pattern company. This page kit features Paige Evans, and she makes really pretty papers. So we enjoy making kits with her pattern paper. So again, I'm just following along what the label looks like. And as you can see, it's pretty easy to glue down each piece and line it up the grid, or line or place it on the grid paper how you see on the label. This one has a lot of square pieces, so this is great. This is a great kit if you have some photos that were taken a little bit farther away, or you can print them a little bit smaller than 4x6 if you need to make room. All right, I have my last piece here that goes right in the center, and as you can see, because I have all those other squares down, it's easier to find where the center is because that's the only space left. And I have my paper tiles, which I don't think I'm going to be using, but again, you can save them for another project if you're not going to use them for the kit you are putting together. The next step will then have to be cutting your photo, so I need to cut this photo to fit into that square space. So there's two ways to do this. So if you don't have any of the dies yet or a die machine, you can just hand cut your photograph. I'm using a craft knife, and this is the Mosaic Moments cutting mat, but you can use any cutting mat that you would like. And really, you just need to trim your photo a little bit smaller around the mat, and we like to make it so the mat goes evenly around the photograph. So what you want to do is place your photo. We like to take the block you want to place your photo on from the page kit because that gives you an idea of how small you need to crop your photograph rather than just guessing. And we generally recommend cutting it down 3/8 less on each side from the size of the block, or excuse me, the mat you're going to place it on top of. So I'm not cutting it right at the mat size, but 3/8 less. And I accidentally forgot to cut the bottom portion of the photo, so I had to take off a little bit more here. So that's why there was that little edit. I forgot to cut off the piece on the bottom. Anyway, so I'm just fixing that right now. So 3/8 on each side. The nice thing about a 4x6 photograph is I don't need to trim down the width of it because it's already the photo would be 4x4 inches. So that's pretty easy for this square. So anyway, it doesn't have to be 3/8 less than the size of the mat. That's just what we like to do, but we just recommend cutting or cropping your photograph down so the mat looks even around your photograph. Or if you do happen to have the basic die bundle, what you want to use is one of the layering dies, as we call them. This is the die that's smaller than the dies that fit the measurements of the grid, and then your photo would layer on top of the mat. So for more about the layering dies, we have a video, have it on the top right here if you want to look at it. That video will explain the layering dies more so you understand what I'm talking about. But once you get the basic dies, hopefully you'll understand which ones those are. So I'm just letting you know you can hand cut your photo, or you can use the dies to cut your photo to fit the mats on the page kit. So right now I'm going to go ahead and mat all my photographs around the layout. I did use the dies from the basic die bundle. So again, these were the layering dies, we call them, and they're a little bit smaller than the dies that fit the measurements of the grid. So anyway, I'm going to finish up this layout and I'll be back in a moment. I just want to show real quick on these larger design spots. You can just place a 4x6 photo right on top, so there's no trimming or anything like that you need to do. I'm just gluing the back of the photo here in the corners and a little bit in the center. And what you want to do is make sure that 3 of the edges I don't do this every time, but 3 of the edges you can see are even and the bottom has a little more space, but has a good space to put in some journaling or maybe some decorative stickers or a border or anything you would like. So you can have some fun with that space. Anyway, so hopefully you got an idea of how the page kits are done, and it's great practice. So once you have tried out a few kits, the next thing to do is to get some of our basic tools. So one of the most important things besides the basic die bundle is the grid paper. This is the foundation for every single layout we create. All the lines on here, you can see they help you align everything so all your mats and photos stay neat, straight, and organized. So if you want to learn more about the grid paper, click on the top right and you can learn a bit more about how the grid paper works. But you can see they're all different colors. So if you go on snapandcrop.com, you can look at our full collection. But every single one of them have lines that look like this. And again, the lines are what help you keep everything neat, straight, and organized. So this is a very important tool, you can say, or element for Mosaic Moments pages. So the first thing you need is the grid paper. The second thing you need as a beginner is the basic die bundle. So the die bundle contains all the dies you need to create Mosaic Moments layouts, and it includes the grid dies so you can make mosaic pages, which is part of what makes Mosaic Moments really cool. So they're all colored, so you can match the colors up on the pattern gallery. But when you get them, they come with inserts, and you can see there's an image with a solid color and dotted ones. So the solid ones are all the ones that fit the grid, and the dotted ones are the layering dies. They're a little bit smaller. So I hope you saw on the right, it showed you how many squares each one covers. So 4x4, 5x5, 3x3 in this case with the squares. You will also need repositionable glue. We recommend the Herma Dotto Dispenser. To use our dies, you will of course need a die machine. There are many of them out there, so definitely go see reviews of each machine on Amazon or scrapbook.com. I have the Sizzix Big Shot here, which is one of my favorites, and this is one I recommend. So right now I'm just going to give you a little preview on how the basic dies work. So this is die set C, and you'll get this in the die bundle. And I want to make my photo mat 4x5 squares on the grid, and I make sure you keep the insert. So I know, and you don't want the layering die, so I know looking at it 5x4 squares is the third one down because you don't want the layering dies. Those are the ones represented by the dotted section. So I put it on my cardstock and then roll it through the machine, and it's pretty simple. So as you can see, in one roll, it cuts your photo mat. So that's just one piece I need. And at the beginning, when you're making Mosaic Moments, you definitely want to make pages. A lot of people have photos that can't be cropped very small, so you want to make sure you choose a layout idea that has some bigger design spots at the beginning. I'm going to cut my second piece, so just really quickly, I'll give you some tips on using a die machine. You want to make sure your die itself is not sticking out from the plates because you will ruin it when it rolls through the machine, so don't do that. And you want to make sure your plates are lined up exactly with your base plate so they don't turn in the machine. Sometimes it distorts your die cut. And make sure your hand stays flat on that top plate while you're rolling it through as much as possible to get a nice clean cut. So once you make your paper mats, you'll want to use the layering sizes, which are a little bit smaller. So I'm going to put this die back. And since I used that die, I just need to grab the next one down. And so that you have to make sure and you grab the right die. And because it won't cover your grid lines correctly. So make sure you grab the dies that fit the grid measurements. And remember, the ones just right next down to it are the layering ones for cutting your photos a little bit smaller than the mat. So I'm placing a layering die on top of the photo. This is a very tight cut. If you need, grab some washi tape to make sure the die stays in place over the photograph. I am using a magnetic plate with my Sizzix machine, and so that helps the die from not shifting. All right, so that was also a very easy cut. So now my photo is sized to layer on top of my paper mat. So this is a resource every beginner should know. This is our page pattern gallery on mosaicmoments.com, and we have hundreds of layout design ideas. What I recommend is go into a 1 through 9 image spots category, and you will find more layouts with larger design spots. For many people, their photos can't be cropped very small, so it's best to look for patterns with that larger design spots, and then anything that's too small for your photograph you can fill in with other embellishments. For today's layout, I'm using page pattern number 365. Again, you can find this on mosaicmoments.com/patterns. You can even put in the search bar 365 if you want to make a layout with this pattern. So as you can see, it has 4 larger design spots here, which is great if you have 4x6 photographs where they can't really be cropped very small. And then there's these 1x5 strips, which for most people, they don't have photographs to fill that, but it is a great opportunity to use something like pattern paper or another embellishment. So when you pick your pattern, you're going to cut all the pieces and then line them up on the grid as you see on the page pattern. So here I'm gluing the back of my paper mat, just kind of like I did with the page kits. I get the glue in each corner and some in the center, and I'm lining it up on my grid paper again in the spot I want that part to go. And then I have my photograph here, which I cut with the layering die size. So as you can see, it's a little bit smaller than my paper mat. So now you just kind of eyeball. The mat should be even all the way around your photograph. All right, and I'm just going to finish up the rest of the page here. This one's pretty easy to get together. I cut a couple of other mats with some pattern paper, and then I'm going to place my photographs on top. So at the beginning, you'll just want to pick some easier page patterns, again, to fit in those larger photos and to get some practice on how to use the system. So I had those little strip spaces, and so I'm going to use, on the pattern, it had a yellow die, so I'm going to grab die set E, because that is the yellow die set, and I'm going to make little paper strips with my pattern paper. So super easy, you zip it through the machine, so you'd cut that 4 times. So this is how the paper should look once you get it cut with the die. And as an option, you can use one of our embellishing dies. Go check out the level 1 category on snapandcrop.com. All those dies are good for beginners. They're very straightforward and easy to use, and they're mainly for decorating your die. So you'll find border dies. This one's the mid-century border die, which is really great, a really good one. And there's some frame dies too, if you like framing your photos on your layout. So go check out the level 1 dies on snapandcrop.com. That is the next step after you get the basic die bundle. All right, so now I'm just going to put my paper strips on the layout here. So super easy. And again, if you pick a page pattern, for most part you like it, and you think, oh, my photos won't fill all the spaces, it's a great opportunity to grab some pattern paper you really like. All right, I'm going to place the last one in the top left corner here. And a lot of times when I make Mosaic Moments pages, a lot of times I start with the larger design spots first, because then it's easier to figure out where the smaller elements go. And of course, you can use the embellishing dies. Again, this one is called Mid-Century Border. So I really like how it looks on the layout. So super easy to use. So again, after the basic die set, the next thing is the level 1 dies. So the final step every beginner needs to know is they need to change their photo habits. So this is really important because you're going to start filling in some smaller design spaces. You're going to want to create mosaics, and you're going to if you want to have that professional Mosaic Moments look, you need to find new things to take photographs of. So I'll share my few tips now. So right now, it's pretty likely most of your photo collection looks like this, and maybe that's not all of people, but you probably are taking really close-up portraits, or you have a family group that's taking up most of the 4x6 photo size, we'll say. And you're still going to want to take these. These photos do have a place on Mosaic Moments layouts, but you have to take more than just these. So we're going to go over some ideas on new photo habits. The first is get in the habit of taking up close and then take several steps back. You want a variety for your Mosaic Moments layout. So again, it's okay to have those photographs that fill in more of the frame, but then you want to take maybe 3 steps back and get those photos. Also, you can take the same photo from farther away because you never know. You may want to use a close-up one, or you may need a spot for your subjects where you want your subjects to be a little bit smaller. So get up close and then take a few steps back. This tip kind of relates, but my next tip is to take the same subject at different distances. So in the first one on the left, she's a little bit closer up, and then the next one she's a little bit farther away, and then the third one she's really far away. So these are the kind of habits we try to keep in mind. So again, you want a mix of photos. You do want some close up, but you want some far back. You never know when you need those far back ones. They're going to come in really handy when you're making Mosaic Moments layouts. The next tip is to take or get in the habit of taking both vertical and horizontal photographs. So this is basically the same picture, and I recommend this because it's useful when you're picking out page patterns that you have options. You don't feel like you're, for the most part, stuck with all vertical or all horizontal photographs. You want a mix of both. A lot of the patterns work with a mix of both horizontal and vertical photographs. So get into that habit. And the last tip I want to share is get in the habit of taking photos of everything. And I mean everything. Here I have stones that were on the ground. I have a mosaic wall, a brick wall. There's wood, there's flowers. Oh, there's so many flowers. We take so many pictures of them. And I have apples here. Whatever you can find, take that photograph. It could be clouds, like I said, the ground. Some of our most amazing layouts, they look amazing because of these kind of photographs we take. So look up, look down, look left, look right. Take photos of all the neat things you see. If you see something that looks cool, take a photograph. Do you look like a weirdo? Yes, you will. You might get some funny looks like we have, but it is totally worth it in the end. And right now, for the end of the video, I'm going to show you a few layouts with all these fun details. So here's a layout with a brick photo. A lot of people think that is pattern paper, but actually it was a photo taken in New Orleans. In the fall, you'll definitely want to take pictures of those colorful leaves. They make awesome mosaics. Flowers always make a great subject, and flowers are everywhere, so everywhere we go, we take pictures of all the flowers. You can even take pictures of long grass. On the bottom here, there's this mosaic of a grassy area. It looks very nice. Even if you're not making a mosaic, these type of photographs can be great fillers for those smaller design spots. So here I have rocks that were right on the shore of the river. Alright, so I'm going to end the video here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope if you are new, you learned a lot and you know the next steps to take for getting started with Mosaic Moments. If you do have any questions, please ask me in the comments below. We love answering people's questions, and hopefully you'll watch more demos. Be sure to check out the Mosaic Moments for Beginners playlist. Alright. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.